So this actually topic was this was B actually asked me this question, and she might not remember, but a couple of months ago we were talking about we were just talking about diet and food and stuff like that, and she goes to me like, why are carbohydrates like so tasty? Why does it have to be that the carbohydrates are the tasty things that you crave, and the other things like you don't necessarily crave so much, right? Like nobody wakes up in the middle of the night thinking, I really want some broccoli or celery, but you might wake up in the night thinking I could do with some Domino's pizza, right? So what is it about that? And so B kind of sparked this. B remembers the conversation. So B kind of sparked this thing in me. I thought, let me look into the neuroscience, actual research on it, and I started reading into it, and I was shocked, and I thought, this is definitely something I've got to share in the group, because it fits the principles of what we're teaching and what we're trying to get people to do and get people to understand, especially for those in the group who are for vegetarians. It's really important. So basically, a lot of what we do in the group is around trying to reduce the intake of refined carbohydrates and sugars. So examples of that might be burgers, not a white burger bun, bagels, pizza, like things like that, right? So it tastes great, but there's lots of refined carbohydrates in it, right? So generally white flour stuff, and so, or also known as kind of high GI and low GI foods, glycemic index. So that's another kind of term for it. So high GI foods would be foods that your body interprets them as sugar. They spike up your insulin. They put your body into a fat storing state. And so lots of people who've been through the program got results. We've been focusing in around reducing the amount of insulin spikes they're having by controlling certain types of foods that they're eating. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And one of the courses I did a while ago was about health economics, and they looked at, you'd think that Pizza Hut is in areas where people have more money, right? Because it makes sense, like pizza is not cheap. But they were saying they strategically put Pizza Hut and Domino's and McDonald's in places where people don't have much money, because they are less likely to make informed choices about the foods that they eat. So this is research. Don't like bite my head if you don't agree with it. I'm sure there's loads of affluent places like Windsor has a McDonald's. So McDonald's are kind of everywhere. But like Subway, for example, is a lot less kind of the frequency of finding a Subway restaurant is not as great. And where you find KFC, like South of Broadway, you got KFC, like, you know, the kind of stores you have in South of Broadway, they're particularly targeting a market. It's not the most well-educated market in terms of nutrition, and it's not the market that's going to make, you know, they're not particularly going to go out and buy like 30 pounds of organic, so 30 pounds worth of organic food, right? They're more likely to buy fast food. That's fine. If you need to go, that's fine. I'm just going to have a look through the messages. That's fine, Gavid. It's going to be recorded anyway, so I'll send a link to the group. So Karen, your family home is in Harrogate. Yeah, so like Harrogate, for example, right? So rich areas like that, you're unlikely to find like a KFC. It just, like, you know, how many, you know, you can't imagine like super affluent people going to KFC on a weekly basis. It probably doesn't happen, right? They probably cook at home, for example. Where there's a Tesco, there's a Subway, and where there's a Subway, there's also a church. Is that is that a fact to be, or is that something that you just noticed a pattern? But so that's a couple of things we've covered so far. The fact that carbohydrates cause insulin spikes, and they put your body into a fat storing state, particularly around the midsection. So guys that I see, like I know some marathon runners, but they've got a belly. So, you know, it's not that they don't do enough exercise, it's because their diet is poor. And because of that, they're accumulating fat around their belly, even though they do, you know, more exercise than probably 99% of the world. So they're not doing something right. The other bit that we talked about was health economics, and where food establishments are placed is very strategic. And now the next bit is the new bit that I wasn't aware of. So there's an experiment here. I've just got it. It's in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And what they did was they scanned people's brains, and they scanned obese people's brains actually, and they found that when they would eat certain types of food, it would trigger pleasure centers in the brain. So the same pleasure centers that are activated during sex or cocaine or any kind of experience where people associate with pleasure. But that's quite interesting that the same areas that would do that are being lit up from us eating a pizza, for example, right? So I think that is a very strong um, is a very powerful thing in itself. Like, and I can see now, if I was going through some kind of hardship and I had an addictive behavior, how food could be a source of comfort for me, and it would potentially help me through that hard time by giving me that boost in terms of the pleasure hormones and making me feel a bit better for the short term. Obviously, not great for my health, but I can understand how that could happen. So the interesting thing about this new research is they gave two groups of obese people milkshake. One milkshake had more refined carbohydrates in it, so things that spike your insulin, and the others had more complex carbohydrates in it, so less fast digesting carbohydrates. Um, so again, high glycemic foods and low glycemic foods. And what they found was that I'll read it to you. After the participants drank their rapidly digesting carb shake, their blood sugar spiked and then crashed 4 hours later. At this point, the researchers documented activation of a part of the brain called the nucleus accumbens, a small area that is involved in emotions and addictions. The scan showed intense activations in brain regions involved in addictive behavior. Um, so I think that statement is controversial whether food can be addictive, but I think personally, I think anything can be addictive. So I think everybody needs a kind of outlet and a source of kind of release and decompression through the pressures of life. And for some people, that might be food. For some people, that might be drugs. For some people, that might be alcohol. Particularly in our community, obviously, alcohol is a big thing. So that's it really. That's my 2 pence on the thing. So B, jump in. What do you think? Do you want to say anything on the topic? Can you hear me, B?
Yeah, I can
Perfect.
hear you. Just with regards to carbohydrates and just general consumption, I think my experience of that is that when you are eating carbohydrates, it creates a sort of um, fullness in your stomach.
Mm,
So you feel full, even though you don't really need a lot.
mm,
So, for example, like you say, pizza, you could probably eat pizza. And I think this is probably related to the crash. That when you spike your blood sugar, that's great because it makes you feel great for that short temporary time. And it smells really good, so you want to eat more. But a couple of hours later, once your body's done digesting, you're hungry again. Whereas if you were eating something that was more nutritionally dense, rather than, you know, mostly carbs, you wouldn't feel so hungry so soon. So it would curb your hunger for longer. And that's just from previous experience that when you eat sort of like carb heavy fast foods like pizza, or you go to McDonald's or something, you feel hungry a lot quicker than say if you'd had sort of a pre-prepared nutritionally balanced meal.
yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And obviously you've been through it, right? So you're speaking from experience in terms of you've done a transformation. Kieran, do you have anything to add? Any opinions? I'm putting you on the spot a bit, Kieran. You're the carb queen. Okay. I think we're all the carb kings and queens. I think particularly those of us who are vegetarians in the group, which I think is nearly, it might be everybody. Um, you know, the issue is, what do you eat if you don't eat what do you eat if you don't eat carbohydrates, right? So as a vegetarian, if you go to like the Gurdwara, for example, or if you go to, like Kieran said, eating out, like if I went to Tesco's now and tried to get something vegetarian and went to the sandwich section, um, there would be pasta. Cheese pasta would be an option. And the only other thing I think you could eat is a ploughman sandwich, right? Which is cheese and bread. So both versions, both options that you have are high in carbohydrates. So what do you do? So it's not just our fault. And then you got what the kind of sauces they put in there. So I went to get a salad. I think it was I can't remember. I think it was where it was. It might have been Tesco's. I bought a salad, and I it was just like a normal green salad with spinach and that kind of stuff, and so it's super healthy. And then I was about to pour the sauce, and I looked at the sauce, and it said 45 grams of refined carbohydrates, and I thought daily intake is meant to be 25 grams. It's 45 grams just in the sauce, and I thought, okay, I'll just have it without the sauce. And it was really bland, but it's like sometimes you're trying to do the best, but it's kind of hard. The environment isn't always conducive to us eating healthy. So in that instance, it's just trying to make the best choice. So yeah, B, you're really proud of Kieran. I'm really proud of Kieran as well. Well done. Um, Chips is a hard one. Like my wife, she's right here. She loves chips. We went to India once, and I was like, they were like, "Oh, what do you want to eat?" And she made them make her chips. And this is like Punjab in the Pind, where they don't have chips. So they made this like deep fried um, potatoes, basically. And she ate those with loads of salt. But yeah, it can be very addictive. And B said something about the smell, which is really interesting because when I was learning about health economics, I learned that companies will put their strategically place their vents so that it goes, so the smell of the food um, is basically, if you're passing by, if you're walking by, you will smell the food, and it will make you hungry. It will trigger hunger hormones, and you want to eat, even if you weren't hungry before that, or even want to eat the food. So subconsciously, there's a lot of things at play here. Okay, traveling and resisting fast food. Well done, Kieran. Like if you can do it when it's hard, then I would say to the guys that doing when it's easy will be fine. Um, yeah, M&S salads. I mean, you'd think that would be the best option out there, right? Like they're the only relatively healthy. That and Prep are the only relatively healthy places I know. Um, but but yeah, if the dressing is very heavy, then it's a bit counterproductive. But I guess it's probably just trying to make the best out of the choices that you do have. Um, the salt is kind of one that will cause a lot of bloat, and it will give you a belly. So high salt is not advisable either. Oh, you did health economics as well. Uh, okay, I haven't heard of Leon, but that sounds. But yeah, you just got to try and make the best. Like I had a girl who she used to she did the challenge, and she used to fly to the States a lot. And in the hotels, she's a vegetarian. She had either pizza or pasta as an option. So I was like, well, it's not like neither of them is great, but pizza's probably got more of this stuff. Like it's got fat in it, and it's got protein in it, and it's got some vegetables in it, rather than just having tomato pasta. So it is trying, and then with some greens, right? So often, like you're going to make decisions which might not be the best possible food decisions in the world, but as long as you're making the kind of smartest decisions that you possibly can, that's all that can be expected. B is a good example of this. When she goes to a program, she goes to a gurdwara or something, she'll have the langar and she'll leave out the roti, or she'll have half a roti. So she'll just change the compositions of the foods you're eating, and that's why she smashed it. I mean, she's not like doing anything, like she's not eating grass or something crazy, or just juicing all the time. She's just eating a normal diet, but she's got it. She knows the principles and she just applies them to whatever scenario she's in, and that's why she's continued to smash it and just maintained as well. Yeah, Canada and America, the food is so good. It's hard to eat healthy there, and the portion sizes are so big. It's a bit like prep. Okay, yeah, she is very inspirational. There's loads of inspirational to be taken from people who've actually been through it. Why do you want to jump on and say anything about carbohydrates and addiction? Do you want to talk about addiction? Come on, she's coming. She's got first-hand experience as well, so she is amazing as well.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared to talk today, so I'm pretty scruffy as usual.
So this is meant to be a 15-minute team call, and I've already taken up 19 minutes.
Carbs.
We were talking about carbs, but I thought you might jump on and do like 60 seconds on addiction.
Addiction. Okay.
Like sugar addiction, for example.
Yeah. So as you guys know, I've been addicted to sugar for probably about 20 years of my life.
No, you have to start with, "Hi, my name is Darshan."
Hi, my name is Darshan. I'm a sugar addict, recovering. And this is the first time in my life that I've been without sugar. Like, I slipped up with a biscuit yesterday, and I've been having natural sugars in fruit, but I've not been having any chocolate bars, any sweets, ice creams. This is what I used to eat on a daily basis just 2 weeks ago. And I've never been more productive. There are projects that I've been putting off for months, like I'm trying to write a children's book, and I've been putting off invoices and things for my work, and I've just got more mental space. I'm not always thinking about when I'm going to get the next sugar fix in. And I didn't realize how all-consuming it was. And also on an emotional level, I'm more in touch with my feelings. Like, it's really funny, but last week I was highly emotional. So I go to this women's support group, and every time somebody would speak, I'd start crying. And I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. But I'm realizing now that sugar has such a vast impact on all areas. I didn't realize it had an impact on my emotional life as well. And I'm just, sorry, am I going on a bit? But one of the most powerful things for me is that, like, I realized that I was using sugar as a way of covering up my emotions as well. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm a psychologist, I help people, and I'm great at dealing with my emotions, and I've got good emotional well-being, etc. And it's only when I stopped having the sugar and it stopped being my go-to thing when I was feeling anxious or stressed or lonely, I kind of realized how much I am in that place. And I've been trying to learn to kind of be with that feeling and that experience and get to know it a bit, instead of just trying to cover it up. So that was really great. Long. Sorry about that, guys.
I mean, this was meant to be about carbohydrates, and so that was meant to be about addiction, but it's applicable, right? The stuff he said about sugar, and I think that's a really good topic for next Thursday, when we do the kind of the food diet stuff. Team call, we'll do it on sugar, and then hopefully mental health Monday, which is coming up in a couple of days. We will get Darshaka, if she hasn't fallen asleep, we'll get her to do it on addiction, because I think although it's controversial whether food is really addictive, I think from our own experiences, my own experience and others' experiences, they would say that it is, or it can be. It has a potential to be. So having some tools or a toolkit to deal with addiction, I think, hopefully Dr. Darshan can help us out with that. So thank you for Kieran for your support, and B for your supportive words as well. Really appreciate that. I'm sure she appreciates it as well. So that's a team call. Does anyone want to ask any questions or say anything just in closing? Okay. So if that's it, I'll let you guys go. I'm glad you found benefit in it, and this will be uploaded. I'll send you a link now, so if you want to watch it back at any point in time, you can watch it, and you can always share it, and try and help as many other people. The goal is, once you've done your transformation, then you can be a lighthouse, and people can come to you, and you can help them. So less one at a time. Just transform the health and well-being of our community, our family, those around us. And have a lovely evening, everyone. And I'll see you on the next post in the group.